shows, and like, you know, I used to be in Chicago, like I used to help out there, and when I went back to Chicago, I found I couldn't sit in the seat because I kept going, the view is much better over there at the merch table, or over there doing this, or, you know what I mean? Being part of that energy is something that is kind of hard to describe, but there's definitely an energy when you're a part of that show in some way, even if something like really small, you know, even if you're not performing. It's really an amazing energy that you find in independent wrestling.
And you know, not to toot a horn, but the photographers, and not just myself, we're out there for the duration of the show. We're out there in the public eye. Anything that we mess up is seen. If you trip, you stumble, God forbid, get wiped out by one of the guys, as I've seen happen. You're out there for the entire 3 hours. You know, we've all been in arenas where the air conditioning isn't quite up to standards that we would like to have, and it can be a fairly grueling 3-hour period.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's true. I mean, I've seen it. You guys don't get, you know, photographers, you don't get a break. You know, you don't get an intermission, necessarily. You know.
Well, we do, but, you know, 9 times out of 10, you're looking for some shots. You're looking for some pose shots with the guys backstage, even while they're at the merch tables, especially if someone wins a championship belt in the first half, and, you know, they'll be out there at the merch table with it. If you can get a good shot of it over their shoulder, it's part of the game. You know, plus you're going through and you're deleting photos that don't make the cut, hopefully conserving some battery power for the rest of the show. And, you know, we've been in shows where it's a double header, like the WSU CZWs. Right. I think next week I'm doing FWR and then Evolve. So, you know, sometimes it's even more than one. I've done 3 shows in one day.
Wow.
Yeah, and but it's the tech work afterwards that really is the time-consuming part.
That's actually, I do want to talk about that. So after you're done, and I do want to kind of go back, and probably go back and forth, because there's a lot of questions I have, because I'm really interested in everything you just said, actually. It's really fascinating. So, all right, let's say the shows are over and you got your shots. What happens next?
I go home.
Let's go and stay there.
That is my favorite part of the day. I sometimes wish these guys would wrestle in my living room, just so I don't. Well, personally, for me, I work 7 days a week, and it's by the graces of my weekend employers, for the most part, that I am allowed to leave early to go to do these shows. Wow. But that does mean that I'm usually up since, like, 6 o'clock in the morning, go to work. If I'm going to leave early, I try to get to work a little early. So my day is I already have a work day in before I get to the show. I keep my camera with me, set up, format the cards, make sure everything's done. There was one occasion for CZW where I had everything except batteries for the camera.
Wow.
And I was able to squeeze out just enough to get to a WSU show. But, if there was a Best Buy in the area, even buying a battery for the camera wouldn't have worked because new batteries still had to be charged. So that was my one screw-up, which isn't bad since I've been doing this since 1997.
Wow.
So you take the pictures, you say goodbye. Usually, I would say the average ride home for me is about an hour and a half.
Okay.
And then, depending on how I'm feeling when I get home, knowing that I have to get up early the next morning, I'll download the cards, and then I try to take Sundays off from wrestling photography, but then the work starts in earnest. And you want to hear what goes into this? And this is this is the way I do it. I can't speak for other photographers.
Okay.
It takes about 15 minutes to upload each card.
Wow.
Usually a 16 gig card, so that's about 700 pictures. I'm usually good for about 15 1,800 to 1,800 shots a night.
Wow.
Wow. Then I take a card, usually, as I said, about the 700 pictures. I shoot in RAW format. It's the larger files. They're more easily manipulated.
Okay.
It's much easier to lighten or darken or sharpen. It's a style choice. It takes up a lot more space on the card, but it's much more easy to work with. It's like working with a very pliable dough rather than something that's a little more concrete. So that can take a few hours to go through each 700 photos. So probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours per card.
Wow.
Then I take out whatever is beyond saving, and my percentages are pretty good, but there's always stuff. Everything from it's blurry and can't be saved to wow, I really can't tell what they're doing in this picture, and it could be they blinked because of the flash. I'm kind of cognizant of making sure that women don't look too goofy, unless it's something that fits with their character. Like Veda Scott is a very expressive character. So there are a lot of things I might like pass because it looks like disgust, which is something her character may actually be trying to convey. Then I transfer all those from RAWs into JPEGs, and that takes about 11 seconds a shot, which doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, these are folders of over 700 shots.
Wow.
Then I go through those, and I crop what needs to be cropped.
Wow.
Then they have to be shrunk down to put onto my website, and then again, it's each card, and then I have to burn them to discs to give to the promoters, which is another about 15, 20 minutes per card. So the entire process for me takes about 8-9 hours, not including the changing from RAW to JPEG. That's a set it and forget it kind of thing. But the actual work on a show is about 8 or 9 hours, and the problem comes when you end up with a busy weekend. Like as I said, the next week I'm doing Evolve in Maryland, FTW in Queens, and then the Evolve show in Queens. Wow. So that's 24 hours or 3 work days extra into my 7-day work week. To do the tech on the photos. So it's time consuming. A lot of people don't work in RAW. A lot of people take considerably less photos than I do. But this is a stylistic choice that I've come up with, and it works best for me. I've just upgraded my camera so the files are even bigger, which means everything will take even longer.
Aw. But imagine that
the picture should be awesome.
I was going to say, I would imagine with a better camera that the pictures are going to be a little sharper or a little more, quality, higher quality. Yeah,
my files are so huge you can make like a mural out of them.
Wow.
Not that I've ever had to, but I just picked up the T6i, and one of the reasons I picked it up was for faster low light focusing.
Okay.
Which seems to be the case. So I don't know that I'll be using it at all the shows, but I'll probably be pulling it out for the major ones. Gabe Sapowski has asked me to provide WWE with photos from their tournament, as 2 of the matches are occurring on Saturday.
Right.
So I'll probably use the new camera for that one, and Ring of Honor and New Japan are coming to New York on the 14th. So that's a good opportunity to really test it.
Well, that's really amazing. Now you're going to be taking these pictures. I know that, Evolve does have that partnership with WWE, and that's an awesome opportunity. Did you ever think you were going to have an opportunity to take pictures for WWE or be involved in any way with them or, supplying them with pictures?
I've been involved with them for the past year, They've been coming to me as new people get signed, who have been on the independent circuit.
Wow.
Stu Sachs from PWI, he's the managing editor, had referred to WWE to me, and so I've been providing them photos. It's not a paid gig, and sometimes, of course, their requests come at the most inopportune time. And everything's so cool as long as it's on my computer, but if I have to start looking through discs, I have literally thousands of discs, and I'm not the most organized person in the world.
Oh, no.
Oh, by far not the most organized person in the world.
I was going to ask how you keep them organized, but I think you just answered my question.
Well, actually, I'm the victim of circumstance. We had a problem in one of our bedrooms, and everything had to be removed from it, and everything kind of got disheveled. And when you work 7 days a week plus going out and doing these shows, there's not a lot of time to come back and reorganize things, and that's what happened. I ended up getting a bunch of external hard drives where everything's listed by dates.
Wow.
And that's nice and easy, but if it's something that's on a disc, like the 3 New Japan shows that came through in 2011,
right.
I'm constantly getting requests for that because they keep firing people like Nakamura.
Right.
Yeah, those shows I know, but that era, that time frame, some of the discs just aren't where they're supposed to be.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say I can't imagine how you find time to do anything. I mean, with how much work, I didn't realize how much intensive work it is to get these pictures ready.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Can you hear me, Scott? I'm not sure. I think we might be having some technical problems. Scott, can you hear me? Oh, I cannot hear him any longer, so I'm hoping the call might drop. Hey, Scott, are you there?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I think our call almost dropped. Almost, but thankfully it didn't. I was saying that I was really amazed that you have time to do anything with all the work that it takes to put these together for the promoters. Now, when you work with promoters, do you have like a set arrangements with them, or do they buy it per show, or how does that work?
Remember when I said there's not a lot of money in this?
Yes, I do remember that.
There is not a lot of money in this. Basically, the arrangements I have is the league provides the access, and my pictures are, my website is an online catalog for magazines to purchase. Okay. So I don't get paid by, say, CZW or Ring of Honor directly, but if Pro Wrestling Illustrated or Fighting Spirit magazine and the WWE have gone through my photos, when they request certain wrestlers like Anderson and Gallows just debuted. Right. So it's basically an online catalog. I can end up selling a lot from a certain show. I can end up not selling anything. I can end up selling something 5 years after a show's been shot. My advice to anyone who's trying this is, do it because you love it, because that's really the only compensation you're going to get.
Interesting. Now, do the performers, the wrestlers themselves, do they buy photos from you sometimes, or?
I would not sell to a wrestler.
Really?
I don't cut them in when PWI buys a picture, so the least I can do is give them whatever they wanted from me for free. The way I figure each photo is owned by 3 people, the league, the people in it, and myself. So I would never charge a worker for photographs, ever.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I just didn't know how that process worked. If it's like something like that. Does that also apply to you were talking about getting shots in the back? I've seen profile shots or roster shots. Does that sort of apply to that as well, or is that a little bit different?
For me, I can only judge by the way I do things. I never charge a wrestler. Never charge a worker.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's a good point about who owns those pictures. Like you were saying, I think it's interesting that you make that these three people, the company, the league,